A number of years ago, I was in a restaurant and I saw this elderly couple, looks like they were celebrating. And so I go to the elderly man and I go, "What are you guys celebrating? What's going on?" He says, "Oh, we're celebrating our 53rd anniversary." I thought, wow, 53 years. My goodness, what's your secret? How did you guys manage to stay together for that long? So he looks over to his wife, blows her a kiss as she's talking to her grandchildren. Looks over at me and he goes, "Cheat. You want to survive? Cheat. And don't look back." What I just demonstrated, what I just told you, was actually a skit by a comedian named Dane Cook. And while I got a laughter out of the audience and you guys and myself, I actually started thinking this whole notion of marriage, family, and union doesn't make sense in our day and age. For humans, is monogamy a myth? That's what we're going to talk about. So of all the books that I started reading on the subject, there are two in particular that really had a profound effect on me. The first one is a book called Sperm Wars by Robin Baker, and another book called The Myth of Monogamy by a male and female scientist. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to do this research for the longest time. I avoided it at all costs. Because the reason is, I eventually wanted to be a family man myself, and I thought to myself, this might shake up a lot of my beliefs. But what we fear most is what we don't understand. And giving us better understanding allows us to have better choices for the future. So come on this rabbit hole with me. Let's take a little journey. We're going to discuss, from a biological standpoint, why monogamy doesn't work for human beings. We're going to discuss certain species who we think are monogamous on a social standpoint are really not. They're engaging in extra-pair copulation, or the extramarital affair, if you will. We're going to talk about what are the benefits from a male perspective. We're also going to talk about benefits from a female perspective. And here's an interesting statistic as well, before we get started. Of the 4,000 species that have been discovered in the animal kingdom already, only 4 to 6% of them actually have a monogamous pair bonding. And of that small percentage, 10% still engage in this extra pair copulation. Something to think about. Men. So what do men benefit from non-monogamy, as I'm going to call it? Well, let's talk about sperm for a second. A single male ejaculate is able to produce over 250 million sperm cells. That's a lot. In a month, billions are able to be produced. And it takes very little energy and metabolic resources for this to happen. So that allows males to be able to transport easily from one mate to the next. But what's the payoff? What's the evolutionary payoff for this? Well, if we think about specifically in humans, the child rearing phase takes 9 months. During that time, he can't re-inseminate his mate. She's too busy doing other things. So during that dormant phase, in order to ensure his genetic insurance, he goes off and mates with other females as well. That way, it increases his chances of having a viable offspring to survive the next generations. Another thing that happens in the male body is they've demonstrated this in various seagulls, birds, primates, and also in human males, is if there's the possibility of mating with a female outside of his pair bond, there's a certain sexual excitation that comes up within him that actually doubles his sperm count. Now this serves two purposes. One, it guarantees his chances of his sperm inseminating the egg. Also, females benefit from this, which we'll actually get into here in a little bit. Another concept that I want to bring about is this whole mate guarding. When after a male copulates with a female, he sticks around just long enough in order to ward off any other males from coming in. Another thing that happens on a physiological front is sperm actually creates a certain coagulation which prevents his sperm from leaking out. It also prevents outside sperm from getting in. So what does this show us? This means that these two phenomena that are happening, men are obviously engaging in this extra paracopulatory action. For females, it actually shows that, one, it takes two to tango, that they're actually engaged in it as well, and that they're actually promoting it themselves too. Which leads me to females. What do females get out of this? Well, if we think about the female reproductive organs, it's a very hostile environment for sperm. It's acidic. Sperm, on the other hand, is basic. When acid and base collide, it renders it neutral, therefore killing sperm. So sperm has to go through a lot in order to inseminate the egg. They have to travel upstream quickly, very much like salmon going against the current. Not only that, but they also have to break the border, the outside membrane of the egg, and work its magic. Even then, it still may not work out because there's the possibility of genetic deformities, the offspring may not survive. So her genetic insurance actually comes into play, that what was theorized by Robin Baker and Sperm Wars is that she will get inseminated by multiple men and essentially have their sperm compete against one another for the best possible sperm to inseminate the egg and have her genes and his genes move on. Another thing that happens too is, because of this extra paracopulatory action, she gets material resources from it. Usually she actually will mate with a male that's also in a pair bond, which is kind of interesting. And as a result, she does get resources. So for her, that's a good thing because it's able to protect her during this vulnerable phase. Another thing also is that you'll notice is males will do this, such as, the male spider will create the web. The male bird will create the nest. The guy buying dinner for a woman. These are all things to show in the courtship ritual that, hey, I'm a viable male, mate with me. So we talked about the benefits that males and females get from this. So where does that leave us? What does that mean? Should we completely disregard all the notions that society gave us about marriage, union, family, all that? Should we just be single and roam around as we see fit? Unfortunately, I can't answer that for you. No one can. The only thing that I'm trying to do here is give you a better understanding of what happens when we do certain actions. So next time you hear of somebody having maybe an extramarital affair or something along those lines, instead of having our social judgments, which come about from what I just mentioned, we can understand, okay, maybe there's something going on that we didn't realize before. There's something beneath the surface. And if that doesn't give you any solace, maybe this quote will. It's one of my favorites. Zoe kind of hinted at it in her speech. Love is the answer. But while you're trying to find love, sex raises a lot of good questions.